And all right, welcome everybody to another edition of the Longevity Biotech Show here on Clubhouse. I'm Robert Zimin, your co-host with Nathan Chang of longevitymarketcap.com. And this is a call series where we interview the scientists, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and others advancing the state of the art in longevity biotechnology and how this will impact us and the world in the decades directly ahead. So the way we usually do this is we have about a few minutes of intro, about 25 minutes of prepared questions, 25 minutes of audience questions, and then we'll have a few minutes of closing. So just hold your questions until the half-hour point, and then we'll bring some people up on stage. So maybe we can start with intros. Nathan, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Nathan. I'm the founder of longevitymarketcap.com, and there's a newsletter there that you can sign up for. Basically, I look at different developments in the investing space of longevity and the different companies that are emerging. And that's a once-a-week newsletter, so if you're interested, sign up. And I'm also the founder of longevitytech.fund, so it's a place where people can find jobs, companies, and investors in the longevity industry.
Great. How about Bolek?
Sure. Hello, everybody. I'm Bolek. I'm associate at longevitytech.fund, so I'm helping Peter with investment, whatever is needed, basically, like a right hand. And other than that, I'm pretty much a generalist. I'm working as like a data analyst as well in IT companies still, and I co-founded longevityforum.eu, which is with Peter, which is a platform trying to raise awareness about longevity in Czechia. And I'm also kind of helping with the biotech group at the Foresight Institute. That's probably everything.
Fantastic. And Peter?
Yeah, hello everyone. So I'm, let's say, a lifelong entrepreneur with deep focus on high technology, or so-called exponential technology. I founded a startup incubator a couple of years ago, and then I moved towards cooperation with Singularity University. And met a couple of guys around exponential medicine, and finally, 1.5 years ago, I co-founded the Longevity Tech Fund, and together with Bolek, longevityforum.eu. So I believe that we will we can provide you more details later during this board.
Yeah, thanks for that. So. And I'm Robert. I am a researcher in aging biology. I have spent most of the last 10 years as a bioinformatics programmer and research software engineer at some research labs and at a large biotech in California. And in the last while, I've been getting more involved in aging biology research and longevity biotech, the longevity biotech scene through this Q&A series. So we can get into the questions. I forgot to mention this call is being recorded. We're live streaming. So when we do bring people up on stage, you're consenting that we can use your voice and image in our recording here. All right. So Peter, maybe we can get into the questions here. Our first question, how did you get interested in longevity?
Well, so let's say the personal point of view, it was kind of a part of my general interest about about the first principles of everything. So human biology and or behavior is basically a great example of complex systems. So it was kind of my scientific interest first. And then I, of course, realized that I can actually do something better for me. So I started working on my health and practicing some more lifestyle interventions. But was maybe like 30 years ago. Then I was target of jokes of my friend that I was trying to live more than 130 years. So it was like a really unrealistic claim at that time. But maybe 8 years ago, I realized that there is no such a limit like 130 years. So that because everything is kind of a biology and mechanistically complex system, which we are start trying to influence more and more. Of course, there is a lot of wrong influences and environment toxins and interventions, which are kind of creating some force against or targets, but there is no logical limit in this way. So I basically start believing that there is a possibility for unlimited life just from this, let's say, biologically physical point of view. There is, of course, a lot of more to discuss from the let's say philosophical point of view. So that was kind of the beginning of thinking about the longevity field. And when I met a couple of people in the research and at the companies working or pitching at Singularity University, so I realized that it's basically no longer a sci-fi, that it's already here, and these companies have something which is already working even in labs, but it's like a couple of years in future when we can actually use that therapies or really advanced things which could help not just me but all the humanity. And then I've seen that basically this is not like some add-on to our lives. This is going to be a critical component for survival of our population, because there is a lot of very problematic demographic trends and growing health costs, and of course all of this current epidemic, that this is like a showcase what could happen in the future, but in the future it could be much worse. So we can really must do something more. Then I combine all of my knowledge from the previous career building startups and financing startups and raising money and do all of this stuff around. And I realized that the best way how I can leverage this experience and skills is to create a fund, which I have done, longevitytech.fund, to support companies, early-stage companies, which can bring massively affordable solutions, how to extend healthy human lives to the market, to the most of the people. So that's the mission of our Longevity Tech Fund.
So you mentioned the Singularity University. Was this formative influence on you in starting the fund? Or was it something that kind of like confirmed and encouraged you to proceed?
Well, of course, that's always not such a simple answer for that. So it was like a gradual process of knowing or realizing what is going on and what I can do actually. And the Singularity University was a great accelerator of this way or this type of a thinking. You know, when you are surrounded with a number of excellent people and the people which are basically focused on future and on humanity challenges. So that's like it's really a kickoff for everything what you can do. And the personal touch to these people and their research or outputs it was that point which finally moved everything forward. And there was another part of my career when I actually worked mostly with AI companies and AI startups, and was part of a discussion with the great AI people in that space. And the AI, artificial intelligence, is kind of an accelerator of everything what we can do or what we do right now. And because you need to see what could happen in the near or mid-time future, and then you need to combine all of these knowledge and trends, not just from biotechnology or health, but from these surrounding technologies or accelerators of that trends. So then you can come to the conclusion what is going to happen and when. And I've seen that we will see a real kind of a Cambrian explosion of our ability to influence our health, especially in terms of demand from people, from general population. As soon they will realize that they can actually influence their aging process. So we expect that this could happen somewhere around year 24 or 25, and we must be very well prepared for this moment, because how is it ending with when the general population wants something and there is a big hype, and so this is why we are trying to support really very good or the best projects, only science-based projects, but not just the biotechnology, but also to support information platforms or other enabling technologies like digital assistants. These technologies could help the regular people to choose the right information, to choose the right products, not just depends on some populistic or false promises which are everywhere around us.
Yeah, so that's very comprehensive. Before going to the next question, just forgot to mention one more thing, which is for anyone in the room, please feel free to hit the plus symbol at the bottom and invite people that you think might be interested in this conversation. We have a smaller than usual crowd due to the kind of earlier hour here. So you mentioned AI as an accelerator of the future. This is very interesting. Have you made any investments yet in like AI and longevity? This is a topic that Nathan and I are thinking of getting a dedicated panel, maybe even a few panels to discuss, because there's a lot of interest in this, and also a lot of hype, of course.
Yeah, actually, we have our recent investment, which is not yet public, but I can speak about. That's the company from Austria, and they're basically working with very complex AI methods for simulation of protein interactions. Maybe you are all aware about this very big advance last year of DeepMind. They created so-called, I think it was
AlphaFold, yeah.
AlphaFold for simulating the protein folding, basically simulating the protein, the resulted protein from some components. So that's definitely very, very useful and very important. But the more important is to know how these proteins will interact with each other, and what could basically improve their interaction. So what small molecule could enable some kind of interactions. And this company, we invested this month together with investment VC fund R42, Ron Jones R42. They have this method, so it's based on so-called geometric deep learning, and they have kind of a platform for this potential discoveries of new protein interactions. So that's a pure AI thing, but of course focused in biotechnology.
Very interesting. We will have to come back to that in a more in-depth call at some point, perhaps with you and some other people, just to discuss the AI topic. So I have one more question, and I'll pass it over to Nathan for maybe some more in-depth stuff on how your fund operates. What is your meaning and definition of what you call the longevity economy and your vision of how it will unfold? I mean, you mentioned this a little bit, but maybe you can elaborate just for people that are not familiar.
Yeah, well, the longevity economy, it's I don't think that there is a clear or stable definition for that. So somehow maybe the more traditional definition is that the longevity economy is the economy created by the people in the longevity category, meaning the older people, like people over 50. But that's not the something which we are interested in. We understand the longevity economy is a new umbrella of everything related to the let's say the changes in the longevity structure of the population due to the, on one side, demographic aging, and the other side, these technological advances, meaning that soon we will see people over 50 with behavior completely different than people, let's say, 5 years ago. So they will be much more active, they will be very economically productive, they will be mostly wealthy, and so, you know, the complete structure of our society and the industries around, especially the consumer industry, is not designed for such a people. So it will need to be changed, so it will maybe evolve more dramatically this way. I call longevity economy of the future, and if I mean future, I mean the following years till, let's say, 2030.
Okay, I'll pass it over to Nathan for some more questions.
Great. Thanks, Robert. Yeah, so just a question for Peter and Bolek as well. So I'm looking at the portfolio at Longevity Tech Fund. Maybe you can comment on some of the companies that you find most interesting in your portfolio, some of the maybe trends or modalities or approaches that you think are the most promising in longevity biotechnology.
Bolek, do you want to comment on this?
Maybe I can just pick my quick favorite, just maybe from, I enjoy when something sounds really futuristic and that surprised me, that I wouldn't think that's possible, and yet it seems to be possible. And one of those examples is maybe Matrix, and they are basically taking your mitochondria and then growing a lot of them in a bioreactor, and then basically putting them back into you, in really simplistically. And that's something that I didn't think was possible until I saw that it probably is, and so that's probably like one of my favorites.
Well, maybe I could comment that the structure of our portfolio is kind of trying to be within this the mentioned definition of longevity economy. So this is not just a biotechnology. And of course, there is some diagnostic field. There are these mentioned information platforms, where we also invested in a company working with longevity risk in the insurance industry. And we hope that there will be a couple of others, not biotechnology companies. But from the other side, you know, this biotechnology, this is a most attractive to talk about. And then we are looking into the three strategies. You know, the first strategy is this lifestyle changes, where this is mostly supported by some advanced programs, or could be like personalized guidance what you should do, based on some diagnostic and some further information of your behavior. So that's the basic level. So then there is a middle level, which we called it enhance, meaning that you can do taking NMNs or some other NAD or mitochondria boosters, or you can take some supplements for boosting your activity for sirtuins. So basically, you are enhancing functions of some of your existing processes in the body. And there is a third level, which we call repair, and that's basically the situation where your body, even with some support of lifestyle and some pills, is unable to clearly achieve what was possible when the body was young. And the example is the cholesterol degradation platform from Repair Biotechnology, or sirtuin gene therapy from GenFlow Bio. These are these things that these are maybe the most radical interventions. And there are some different schools. So like this Abrede Gray approach is more about this repair side, because finally this could really boost your health and your longevity much more than anything what you can do with your lifestyle. But we believe that you need to build it as a pyramid. So you definitely need to have a good lifestyle. You need to take some enhancements or do some enhancements, and then you can actually make this more radical therapies. And this is how we structure our biotechnology portfolio.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to structure it in 3 different tiers. And of course, I'm personally very interested in the biotech, the 3rd tier, doing repair. Yet I really like, of course, Repair Biotechnologies, which is Reason's startup, longevity startup, co-founded with Bill Sherman. I notice when I'm looking at just the biotech portfolio, so the level 3 stuff, I see there's Matrix, which Bolek talked about, which is doing mitochondrial transfer. We have 2 others that are in the mitochondria space as well. Looks like you have Pano Therapeutics and Yuva Biosciences, which are very interesting. I'm thinking, when you're selecting these companies, are you trying to find different targets to fill the portfolio, kind of in the same sort of way that you would look at maybe, I don't know, the hallmarks of aging, and say, okay, well, here are the targets of the hallmarks of aging, like cellular senescence. Find companies that fill that, all those sort of targets, or is there something more specific that you guys use to guide your investment strategy? And maybe just another follow-up question on figuring out what to invest in. I would be interested to hear your thoughts on how you invest, whether you think about the founder as being more important or the science behind the company.
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of questions here. Of course, there are multiple factors in our strategies. We call it a multi-dimensional strategy. So we are looking into multiple dimensions, and where these dimensions are mostly covered, in a way, we expect that this is the target. Of course, this target must exist and must be in the face of fundraising of kind of a pre-seed, seed, or very early or small A's, which is the phases where we are stepping in. But to use the example of mitochondria companies, so we definitely don't want to have a strictly competing companies. So basically working on the same field, it could even create some IP troubles here. But in this example, so the planotherapeutics is a nice example of this enhance, because they are creating this, they call it suprametformin, like enhancing the mitochondrial function. Yuva Biosciences is kind of a little bit different in a way that they are supporting mitochondrial biogenesis, especially in your skin. And so they have a skin application, which is a very nice example how to be on the market much sooner, because that's more simply to approve that kind of a treatment, and people actually want to have a younger skin. Maybe they want it more than to have a younger something inside, but that's the game of the other companies. And then we have this matrix where as these internal enhancements are basically not sufficient, so you can get this mitochondrial infusion. So they are synergistic kind of way. So maybe you can imagine that you could have a clinic where you basically want to do everything what you can do to enhance your health. So then you can choose most of the companies from our portfolio. So they will not overlap, or maybe in some ways, or basically in different. There could be a very different timing, because some of these therapies will be I like longer term shots, and some of these therapies like Yuva Biosciences are already in clinical trials, so that will be a different timing. But at some point, you can basically use all of them in some way, and they will not contradict, or they will be mostly synergistic. So that's the way how we think about the type of the company. And of course, the question, what is more important if there is a science of founder. So this is like you need to have of course, there must be some fundament. So there must be science in place, and science at the stage where you can actually see some working experiments. So that's not like an idea or hypothesis. So that's of course at the beginning. Then you must have a founder which is able to execute, and the ideal combination of such a startup is two founders, or a combination of the group of founders with one side is more like a business skills and some track record how to build, exit, or IPO companies, and the other side is the mentioned science. So there must be this core scientist on board, like a co-founder, and then you can surround these people with advisory board or cooperation with other companies. That's everything okay, but the core team must consist of both of these people, type of the other people. And of course, then we are looking at, let's say, this approach. So what is the strategy? It's maybe I need to say that in these early stages, this everything is very agile. So there is some strategy at one moment, and 2 months later, maybe there are some slight changes, and 6 months later, then it's a completely different, because some experiments was, let's say, changed, and then maybe it would be better to go this way, or there are maybe parallel options what we can do. So we like in this field, what we like in let's say it's a different from traditional biotech. Is that we are, or the companies are addressing aging itself. So, for example, if you enhance mitochondria and you have some indication like, okay, because for FDA approval and regulation, you need the existing indication you are treating. So for example, for mitochondria, the one of the highest concentration of mitochondria are in your eye. So there is a illness called macular degeneration. So they have an indication, and they'll say, okay, we will whatever enhance or infuse mitochondria in your eye, and we can test it on mouses and so on. And that's like a subject of clinical trial. But you're actually enhancing the general function of mitochondria, so it could work anywhere in your body or in the whole of your body. So even this specific clinical trial will not end up success in a success. So you could have multiple other indications or ways how you can basically survive or commercialize this product. And that's a difference from the traditional biotech, where you have some small molecule which is treating this very rare indication, and then there's clinical trials, second clinical trial, and the result is not you don't satisfy the limits you expect. So then you are basically finished, and you kind of lost all the money, because there is no other way how you can use your specific single molecule. So that's a different how we see the biotech in our portfolio.
Yeah, I totally agree with the most exciting part about longevity biotech is that a lot of these therapies might have, multiple indications because they treat aging at the core. And a lot of people, like people in pharma, they love this idea of, label expansion. You can treat one disease, but then if that works, you can possibly try a different one and another one and another one. So that's really cool. Maybe I have one question left before we open up for questions from the audience. Bolek, in some of our previous conversations, you mentioned that you were spearheading some initiatives in the Czech Republic to try and change the perception of the public in regards to longevity, and trying to show that maybe it is possible to modulate biological aging using some basic interventions that we have available today. Maybe you can just elaborate on what your project is and what you're trying to achieve there.
Sure. So we are basically the Longevity Forum.eu as itself is kind of trying to be a connector of different organizations that are somehow connected to longevity, or maybe working on aging or ageism or maybe biohacking or something like that, and basically connecting all of them and creating a network of these different companies or organizations. And what is our approach right now that we will be trying during this year probably, is also trying to run basically a clinical trial, but probably like observational trial, and inviting maybe some people with like influence. You could call them influencers, but it's not like you're usually influenced. It'd be probably more of like people in the public eye who are maybe even older, that we could basically give this program or run through this program where they would get some advice on how to actually improve their health, and also what they can do to improve their longevity, maybe with some testing, or like testing of different biological ages and all that stuff, and basically use this as kind of awareness vehicle for public to actually have people who will go themselves undergo some transformation where they actually figure out that you already can do something with aging, slow it down modestly, and then show it to other people. So we basically spread it around this way. So that's the concept of trying to raise awareness about longevity through some good examples of people who are already following.
Great, yeah. Sounds really interesting, and we'll touch base with you on that later. So before we open up to the audience, maybe we should ask you a question. Is there anything that we can do to help your mission and your goals at Longevity Tech Fund and longevityforum.eu? Maybe there's someone in the audience, or Robert and I if there's anything that you have an issue or a problem, maybe you can ask right now. And so is there anything that we can do to help you?
Well, there is always something that can be done, even spreading the word. We work with startups or deal flow is based mostly on connections. So we are not advertising or not working with some traditional VC startup events. So it's more like a word of mouth or connections through the science world. And there is, of course, the other part that even these companies or fund needs more cooperators for some surrounding activities. And this is not just the Longevity Forum. It's also a couple of incubating projects in incubation. So I didn't mention that we have some special part of our strategy where we actually incubate new startups from scratch. So we have some interesting ideas. Actually, we have something like 9 ideas in the process of developing or incubating, and 4 of them are right now in the phase of creating new companies. And all of these companies are falling in the same mission. So they have a global ambition to provide or enable the longevity treatments or markets for mass population. So that's maybe the opportunity to spread the work. So we are seeking cooperators or potentially co-founders for these companies, and that's a real challenge, today to build the great team. So that's it.
Yeah, definitely. I think many others have noticed in the fields, in longevity industry in particular, that it's difficult to find founders. And so if there's anybody in this audience who knows somebody who's interested in starting a company, a longevity company, definitely reach out to Peter and Bolek at longevitytech.fund. The website is longevitytech.fund, and their email is on the website, so you can reach out to them. Okay, great. I think we're going to open up to Q&A from the audience, and then at the end, maybe we can circle back to some more questions. And we also have Phil here on stage. Phil is the founder of longevity.technology, which is a news and media website that covers the longevity industry. I definitely recommend everybody go to the website, sign up for the mailing list. Great reporting and pretty much the best news source for what's going on in the longevity industry. So with that said, let's take some questions. We have Lawrence. Let's get him on stage. What's your question, Lawrence?
Yeah, just a quick reminder. Thanks, Nathan. This is being recorded, so by coming on stage, you're consenting to the your comments and image being in our recording. Just wanted to remind everybody.
Yes, I am curious to hear more details about why you started the fund and how did it go? Maybe you have some stories to tell.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe I already mentioned the motivation behind and our mission. So this is the why answer. But speaking about our traction, so far we invested in 15 companies, and our target is around 30. And it seems that we could be there around year end. So it's around 30 companies in portfolio. The overall capital at that point should be around 15 million of US dollars. So we are clearly the early stage, or so-called one of the first checks investor. But the reality is that the most of our investments are accompanied with other longevity or very focused investors. So there are a couple of them we know very well, and there are, of course, a growing number of the new funds and new companies, which are we are basically very welcome anyone in this field, because we see that there is a tremendous amount of opportunities how to help this emerging industry. And also, I believe that there will be enough founders at some point to launch more companies.
So, just to clarify, regarding the why, I was wondering, do you think there isn't enough money in the private kind of stage where you can actually invest in companies rather than donate to basic research like SENS or other grants? And regarding the how, I was kind of curious, how exactly did you go around starting it at the beginning?
Yeah, so, what you can see is that the longevity industry, and especially the biotechnology part, is extremely complex. So even these not bio companies, which could have more traditional business models like information platforms or some digital assistants, they seems to be like normal apps, but it's not like that, because we are basically at the rise or before the rise of the large market. So we are anticipating the market needs in the near future or in the next several years. So you can't use simply product market fit methodology. You need to be able to imagine or calculate more precisely, predict all the trends to the future in order to understand what these customers will want or what could be the market size at this particular field. And most of the VCs are not able to, or they have no specialization or knowledge to understand the real fundament in these companies. So this is why these companies are basically very hard to be invested by traditional VCs or funds. And the other side is that they don't need a large amount of money at that phase, because in biotechnology the most expensive rounds are for clinical trials, so like around AB and so on. But most of these companies are not there yet, so they just need hundreds of thousands or maybe $1 million in order to move forward. And that's kind of a small check for more professional or specialized VCs. And that's another reason why it's hard for these companies to find investors today, and why we need more funds like we are. And the other part of your question was how to start the fund or how to invest in the company.
Yeah, I'm curious how you started it. What's the story behind it?
Yeah, right. So that's maybe interesting part, because we basically I leveraged the existing network I had based on my previous activities in funding of AI startups. So, and then my experience from that time when I was trying to leverage kind of a this direct model of matching investors with startups. and it was really a painful process to basically interpret everything between a couple of investors and AI's this other very complex industry. So I decided that the much better way would be to actually make a fund, and because of my context and kind of a public leverage here in Central Europe, we live in Prague, in Czech Republic. So we have done it. So we raised the fund. It's a kind of a formal, from the former perspective, it's a more like a micro fund, meaning that we are not based on commitments. We are actually raising money directly in rounds. So we have all internal rounds. So that's maybe much more flexible. So we started with a small round at the beginning. We have made a couple of first investments. Then we have done the second round, which was kind of a much more bigger. Then we have made a lot of more investments, and then now we are basically coming to the final round, because there must be some consistent strategy and timing of the funds. You can do this for independent time, so it must have some framework, some plan, and we are very very easily fulfilling all plans and all targets. So we have got very good trust from investors. So most of the second or the next additional rounds are based on the additional money from the current investors. So they're gradually trusting the project more and more. So that's a very good development for us. So this is why I see that as a difference from our original plans, we expect that we will actually finish the investment period year earlier than we originally expected, and then we expect to exit from all of our companies till end of 25. Let's say approximately.
Thank you.
So I have a question for Peter Bolek and I guess Phil as well. From your perspective, so one thing we deal with a lot, I guess, in this industry is, people that are unfamiliar with the longevity scene. They have various questions or maybe objections or impressions about what goes on, and everyone seems to have a different perspective on this. From your point of view, or in your experience, what is the most common question or objection from potential investors or supporters for what you guys do?
I think, like, from the perspective of not investors, I can speak about that. Probably Peter will have more knowledge, but from like the perspective of normal conversations with normal people, usually the most common reaction is like our concern is overpopulation. So that's, at least from what I've heard, probably the number one concern.
Hey, it's Phil here. Robert, thanks for your question. I guess the thing is that people have a concern about the silver tsunami. They think about the fact that there are going to be a lot of people filling up care homes and walking around potentially with cognitive function impairment. And the reality is that population is declining in Western societies. So really what you're going to find is actually at a macro level, society is going to need people to live longer, live healthier, and live more productive lives. It's one of those things that big societies are going to need to have, because they need to stay and maintain the levels that they're at. So I find that the argument is one that can be managed quite quickly. And when you start talking about health span, I guess that's more of a pragmatic way of talking about health span leading to lifespan. and leading to longevity. And of course, we all get health span, right? And we all understand that health span is complex because it could be about diet, it could be nutrition, it could be stress levels, it could be anything associated with your epigenetics and your lifestyle. So I think that really the barriers, I'm seeing the barriers coming down. People are embracing longevity as a term much more now when I speak to them, and definitely from the investor community side of things. I speak every day with new types of investors, family offices, VC funds, and so on, and they really get it. They really, really do get it. And the larger funds that are looking at things like ESG goals, when you're looking at environmental social governance, they consider now longevity as a extension of those goals. And I think that you're going to see people getting their vocabulary more accurate about how they're pitching their businesses, and funds that are looking to participate in new areas of healthcare are really looking at health span and longevity as a new investment category. And I'm definitely seeing very, very positive growth there.
Yeah, thanks. It's interesting to hear how things are changing gradually in these relations. Peter, did you have any comment on this, or that sort of cover your experiences as well?
Well, that was a pretty good definition. So, I'm basically expected to explain or argue on daily basis to investors or even some cooperators here, but there is a very good side of that, because you can easily use the comparison to their personal health. So as soon they realize that it's not like one business or not yet another type of the investment, it's also influencing or potential helping their basically own constitution or their health. So they are much more open to talk, or maybe better understand the importance of that field. So I need to say that I hope that most of our investors are kind of aligned with our mission. They are not just a speculative financial investors. They are more likely to support or behavior or selection of companies or their plans to make this massively affordable products. So then I'm happy for that.
Thanks for that. So again, anyone from the audience, if you have any questions, just raise your hands. This is a good time we have another couple of minutes. Nathan, did you have any other thoughts, or I have another question to ask?
Yeah, I have so many questions, but maybe I'll let you go first.
It looks like we have a question from the audience. Let's bring up Diego here.
Hi, my name is Diego Anguiano, and my question is, what type of therapies are you guys most pursuing with your funds? For example...
Okay, so the type of the therapy. So there is no, let's say, the one single specific way which we could prefer. Anyway, we are still in early stages of our understanding how all these potential therapies interact with each other. So there is basically no research looking into the combination of therapies. So this is why we likely to have the more like a complete spectrum of these therapies or strategies, how to enhance and repair, and then we hopefully could participate on more advanced research how to combine these strategies. So, for example, you can have a combination of infusion of episomal cytokine 6 and some the therapeutic approach from senesca, which is like reversing the senescent cells, or with a combination of the mitochondria. So, for example, any therapy which induce repair or accelerate activity of your sirtuins will require more energy. So that's likely to be good to combine with mitochondrial therapies. So, as I said, there is no one specific. We believe that it will be like the silver bullet, but it's going to be mostly some right personalized combination.
And maybe to add on top of that, we basically are trying to follow the hallmarks of aging framework. So we are trying to basically fill the space that is known right now, and pick up companies from all the different segments to have like a full portfolio of that, along with the enhance and sustain, enhance and repair strategy to basically have somehow not decentralized but de-risk the portfolio of that.
Yeah, thanks for that question, Diego. We have time, I guess, for one more quick question, and hopefully just a very quick answer, 30 seconds to a minute, because we should wrap up here before the top of the hour. Nathan, I'm going to have to go for another call, but I'll leave the room to you after that for whoever can stay on for the open-ended conversation. So, Chris, welcome to the stage. What's your question?
Thank you very much. Retired physician, been following this field for quite some time. I talked to Jesse Karmazin, who does the Ambrosia plasma infusion, and I'm familiar with David Sinclair, who's a at Harvard. Seems like the plasma infusion got harassed out of existence for a while, but he's back. And I'm wondering if anybody on the panel believes that David Sinclair's NMN product, the plasma infusion that seems to be controversial, or some future stem cell approach is the more likely one. They all seem to be on the border and not really active yet. Thank you.
Okay, I would say that we don't see plasma infusion itself as a kind of a very specific therapy, because the plasma contains a lot of things, and there is just maybe one part of that what you could need. And actually, we launched our own clinical trial in Prague based on plasma dilution. So this is this recent experience from Stanford, where they dilute the plasma, and it basically improved your aging biomarkers. So that's a way where I could look at plasma like a more general approach, or more universal way how you can improve your health.
And do you have any opinion about Sinclair's, sudden the sauna to the freezing water, or I think his product is an NMN something or another. But just a quickie one, and thank you so much for this room.
We are very well connected with David, but I'm not sure exactly what you mean here. Of course, he's a proponent of NMN and different therapies around that, but he's not actively let's say providing specific therapies or even supplements. So it was like this is it's a kind of a shady business, the supplements market. So these top scientists are trying to avoid any specific recommendations here.
Thank you very much. That's very helpful. I appreciate the room.
Thanks for your question. So we are less than a minute to the top of the hour here. Wanted to first thank everybody for your time. Peter, Bolek, Phil, do you have a little bit of time past the hour? I'm going to have to step out a little bit. I'm going to stay on stage, but I will be on another call. So if you do, then Nathan will continue with open-ended conversation.
I'm okay to stay for a little bit more.
Okay, so maybe what we can do now is we'll just quickly. So again, thanks to everybody for attending. Hopefully this was helpful. The recording will be up shortly on YouTube for a later review. We usually have a lightning round set of questions, but I guess Nathan will get to that in the open-ended Q&A. Next week we have Daniel Ives from Shift Bioscience at the usual hour of 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. So please join us if you can. It should be an interesting conversation. And for show announcements and everything, follow me and Nathan on Twitter through the app here and on our website, longevitybiotechshow.com. There's also a calendar link so you can keep up with all the scheduled shows and the reschedulings as they do happen. And of course, sign up to Nathan's newsletter for keeping up with what's going on in longevity biotech. So thanks to everybody. Once again, I'm going to open up the hands are open again. Good. I'm going to stop the recording and I will have to step out. But Nathan, I'll pass it over to you.
All right. Thanks, Robert.